Hello folks, today's review will be on the clone of the FG42. This rifle was developed in 1942 and first issued in the fall of 1943. A very short gestation period. This particular rifle right here was made in Texas in 2012 by Smith Group. It is what I call my Texas FG42. But it's almost an exact copy. There are some minor differences, but it's the closest we'll see here on this continent for some time. Let's down here talk about it. A little more light on the subject. Let's see what we have. Okay, and then we can zoom in a little bit. Come on. Okay. All right. This is a one-man show, so bear with me, folks. I do these videos on my own, and they are what they are. Cheap and simple. Okay, the FG42 is was what happened during the Second World War. The Germans needed a They needed more firepower for their paratroopers, and the standard 98K rifle is what they were using. And standard 98K is this. This is your standard 98K. This particular one right here is a Russian capture, but it gives you the idea of what they were carrying. During an operation when they took Crete in 1942, they sustained, 1941 I believe it was, they sustained very high casualties. I think it was in the order of 20-25%. And after that, part of the solution was giving them more firepower when they landed. This is what they came up with, and it never ceases to amaze me. They started this in the mid-1942, and by the end of '43, they had this rifle pretty much not fully developed, but they had the first version of this rifle. The first version of this rifle had a steel ribbed butt plate instead of the wood, and was about an inch shorter than this weapon. But as time went on, they made some improvements. Also, the first version used some strategic materials like magnesium, which they were running out of at the time. And they came up with this version of the rifle. Also, the first version of the rifle, what they wanted to do was, and I thought it was a pretty cool idea, they had a hand grip. The hand grip on this rifle was tilted back this way, so when the paratroopers actually came down, they came down holding the rifle like this with a 10-round clip, and they could actually fire as they were coming down their parachute. By the time this particular version came out, they gave up on the steeply raked hand grip and came up with the more or less what I call a, it's like something out of a 30s Smith & Wesson revolver grip. Really simple and conventional. The Smith Group in Texas, when they came up with this idea of making this rifle, magazines are virtually non-existent. There were only 7,000 FG42s made during the war. 7,000 is not a lot. It is not a lot when you consider they made, you know, like 12,000 to 17,000 of these things, which is part of the reason, you know, this is a $400 gun versus this copy, which is a $5,000 gun. If you can find an original, you're looking at $60,000 upwards. I can't afford an original, so this is it for me. I equipped this rifle with a ZF4 scope. This is not an original scope. It's a newly manufactured original clone by the original company that made the ZF4 scope in Czechoslovakia. That's what this is. Crystal clear optics. It holds zero wonderfully. And this rifle fires the full large 8mm round. Here's your 8mm round. Mauser round. 8x57. And the recoil on this rifle, this is no lie, it's no worse than an AK-47. Why is that? Because of the advanced recoil system in this rifle. Watch this. You'll see it reciprocate in. Watch right here. As I push down, the buttstock actually telescopes into the receiver. That's one of the reasons this gun is a true joy to shoot. You take a Mauser out, put 60 rounds through it. You put 60. Take this out for an afternoon, the gun range, put 60 rounds through it. You have a sore shoulder, a real sore shoulder. This rifle, nothing. It's great. It's a true joy to shoot. It really is. For an 8mm, I put on average 100 rounds down range. No shoulder pain at all. Just like shooting an AK as far as recoil. The mags that come with this are what he did. He built the rifle so it would accept a ZB-20/30 mag. ZB-20/30 machine guns for Czechoslovakia air-cooled machine guns that were used by the Germans during the Second World War, and also before the war. They were licensed and built by the British, who called their version the Bren gun. The Bren was, in fact, a British version of the ZB-30. Used a different mag, of course, because it was chambered for the British 303 as opposed to 8mm, which this is. And the sights on this thing, there is a sight down here. It's a peep sight, and I can't show it to you because I would have to take the scope off to do that. And this scope, I'm not going to take it off because it was a hassle getting it on and getting it zeroed, so there's no way I'm ever taking this off again. I won't be using the peep sight. The forward sight does fold down, just like a scar, so you know where those people got that from. And I always thought this rifle looks like something, even though it was designed 70 years ago, it still looks like something out of the future. It's simply, you know, it's a beautiful weapon. It's just unbelievable what they thought up. After the war, the Americans built something called an MG60 machine gun. And the MG60 was, in fact, most of it was a ripoff of this gun with the feed system of the German MG42. Incidentally, this rifle is built with an original MG42 barrel. Yes, SMG, when he built these, the first 20 rifles, which this is one of the first of the 20 rifles, had the SMG42, I'm sorry, the MG42 barrel. So I have an original cold hammer forged MG42 barrel in here, which is really, it's kind of cool. You know, there's actually an original German piece from the Second World War built into this rifle, at least the first 20. He's also selling them in 7.62 NATO 308. You can get those. He's building those now, I believe. Makes the ammunition's cheaper and it's easier to find. But I'll stick with the 8mm. I like shooting these guns in the original caliber. I like to get as close to the experience of the original gun as possible, and shooting the original caliber is all part of that. Some excellent books, if you're into FG42. The collector grade again, Death from Above, another one by Blake Stevens. It's a excellent book just on the FG42 and the two versions of the FG42. First version, if you can see this, looked like this. Like I was telling you, it had the metal stamped butt plate, reinforced butt plate. Second version, this one, is right here. And 2,000 of this version were made. I believe 2,000, and 5,000 of the Type 2. So, a total of 7,000 altogether. Very hard to find, very expensive. Another good book on the subject of all German assault rifles is this book by Stinch, Peter R. Stinch. I think that's how you pronounce it. This book was $10 at Barnes & Noble. I'm not sure if it's still in print. The original was a hard copy, but I got this dirt sheet off the Barnes & Noble website. This goes over, it's a little dated because there's no color pictures in it, but there's a lot of black and white pictures and a lot of, it covers every German assault rifle made during the war, including prototypes. So it's an excellent book to start out with if you're interested in the subject. The bayonet. This thing uses kind of a funky bayonet. Let's see if I can get it out. Hold on. It's a spike bayonet. And it goes in like this. I don't even know why they bothered. But that's the bayonet. We had what? 7 inches of bayonet clearance here from the barrel. I think that was a waste of time myself, but they put it in there. This gun does have a unique flash hider muzzle brake. You can see that, but it's very effective as far as reducing recoil, but it's not real effective reducing the muzzle flash. It's more of a muzzle brake than a flash suppressor, but it's supposed to do both. But it is, you got to admit, it is pretty cool looking, like the whole rifle is. Let's pull this out. And that's the FG42. Thanks for tuning in.